Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. Getting into the second hour, we are glad that you are with us this morning. First, let's hear today's proverb from CT Muga.
If there were no elephants in the jungle, the buffalo would be a great animal.
Told you you're a lie. Now we have somebody whose county hosts a national park. Well, they've been arguing about who hosts it. But
no, we do actually.
See?
On the east side.
On the east side.
The east.
On the east.
Yeah, the west is...
Meaning on the left side of the road as you're traveling towards Mombasa.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Savo, east.
East.
Eko Makueni.
And in the evening, the elephants sleep on the east.
So, Makueni is the bedroom of elephants.
In the evening, they come. We have one called Mwanzia. He comes out at 5 in the evening.
What do you call elephants in Kikamba?
Nzo. Yeah, Mwanzia is a person who walks along the road. Yeah, they're called Nzo.
Nzo.
Yeah.
So this particular proverb from wherever is saying...
It's from Ghana.
It's from Ghana.
Yes.
That if there are no elephants in the jungle,
buffalo would be the greatest. Do you agree?
No, I don't.
What, in your opinion, would be the greatest
animal? The buffalo is still the greatest animal, actually.
Voila.
Even with the elephant.
Even with the elephant, it's still the greatest animal. And that's why I come from a place called Mboni. Those are actually buffaloes.
So now you're biased.
No.
This is where the story is going.
This is where it's sweet now.
Actually, he is factual.
Yes.
You see, if they had rhinoceroses instead of buffaloes,
yes,
yes, it is. So this part of the world where this proverb comes from, it is very likely they did not have rhinoceroses. Yes. So the only comparison they had, you think if you have elephants, you must have rhinoceroses. Not necessarily. India has elephants. They don't have rhinoceroses.
No.
Why are you talking about rhinos? I thought it was buffalo.
No, because this man here,
because I said,
decided to take advantage
of the big five.
Of Mheshimiwa's presence here and is politicizing a proverb.
Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr.,
yes,
Senator of Makueni County, Vice Chairman of WIPA, Mr. Moneybags.
Yes.
So WIPA is getting 70 million shillings from the political parties fund.
It's not 70.
It's more.
It's more.
It's 187.
Oh, let's get it right.
Million, the total.
Hey,
due. Money due.
He breakdown in some different
from 2018.
Okay.
Financial year.
Okay.
Yeah, the financial year ending 2018 to now is 180 million shillings. If I was in a rally, I would say clap for us.
Or in church.
Speaking him a coffee. 180 million.
So this story today, is it only looking at one financial year?
One financial year. That's just one.
So one financial year, 70 million. Just this.
That's possibly what is left
out
of what we should have gotten. The rest, ilihama.
Imekunywa maji.
Ilihama hiyo.
Okay. So, but this happens soon after your party leader has a meeting with the ODM party leader. They shake hands. He walks out. The ODM party leader comes out and says, you know what, actually now what we're going to do is this whole standoff over the sharing of the political parties fund. As ODM, we agree that we're going to share with our partners. He says that your party leader is like, I've walked. Is this not a game that you guys have played?
Oh, because of the money. In fact, let me
you come in. First of all, your party leader says, you know what, I cannot work with Raila again. Then the next thing, your party leader and the others in the OKA Kenya hold a meeting which you addressed, right? Yeah. Where you address the press. And you say, we are unshakable, we are moving together, NASA is dead. Next, your party leader, Kilonzo, meets with the ODM party leader. Comes out, ODM party leader says, we shall share the money. Your party leader then says, but we are in OKA.
No, you must remember the history. The history, and if you followed what the SG of ODM has been saying, it's been saying no money is due to any of you.
Yeah. Consistently.
He has been consistent to the extent that the last time he put a figure, he said, if you are owed, it's 2,500. I mean, the man is simply so contemptuous and condescending that I'm surprised that his skin doesn't come off when he says such things. So the contention is as follows, that because we didn't get any money out of the presidential elections because we boycotted, we are not entitled to any funds. All those funds belong to one political party. We said no, because in the agreement it said in the absence of the fund due out of the presidential votes, the money that will come to the party will be allocated to each according to its party strength. Now that argument has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
So when the letter arrives, because the letter arrives, and I was sitting next to my party leader, the letter arrives in a confidential envelope just before we ended the meeting with the figures, I just laughed. I said, but this is exactly what we have been saying for the last 3 years, that this money is due. And this money is due. The registrar of political parties let us down, because if the registrar of political parties fund had followed our agreement, then this would not have arisen. They would not have released money to one political party. They would have released this money that belongs to Kenyans, to political parties for purposes of their management, to all the political players in NASA. That is the way it is. Now, Mheshimiwa Kilonzo Musyoka was the emissary, if you may, if so to speak, on behalf of the others. Yeah, just go and collect our dues on our way out, that sort of thing. So the idea that the connotation that we have been given money by them is wrong. It's upsetting.
It's your entitlement.
It's our entitlement under the law. It's our entitlement under the coalition agreement. They are not doing us a favor. In fact, it's worse, because we are equally accountable to the Auditor General for the use of those political funds. So, Eric Latif, please correct the impression that tumegawiwa pesa.
Mumepewa kitu kidogo.
But now we are rich.
Now you are rich, you have 70 million.
No.
So NASA can no longer serve as a vehicle for all political intentions. This is the reason why everybody's leaving?
The agreement is that if 3 political parties meet and agree to wind up the coalition stands wound up. Everybody goes their separate ways. That's a coalition agreement.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, One Kenya Alliance, is this the answer now? And a big question is it the answer for Kenyans, or is it the answer for these political parties to push through with some kind of political expediency? Is it for you, or is it for Kenya?
For me, it's not even an answer. It's just a breath of fresh air. Yeah, I mean, an alternative conversation away from the usual rhetoric and away from what all of you in the media have been perpetrating, that this is between Raila and Ruto. No, it cannot be. So we are providing an alternative. One says bottoms up, the other was saying bottom up. You know, that sort of thing. The conversation in Kenya must change. Because I am persuaded, to begin with, that the handshake conversation has served its time. It has expired. The Jubilee Tuko Pamoja has served its time. It has expired. UDA is a sister of Jubilee. It's just metamorphosized from red to yellow. It's the same people. Now talking about a different thing, from stadiums to tutatenga pesa, to we are going to provide 100,000 jobs, to nice conversation, white shirts, red nini, all these things. But to now we are going to change the economy. I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, what do these people think we are?
Mutula,
do we look like fools?
If you're using NASA as is it not the same thing then? Has NASA not just metamorphosized into the One Kenya Alliance?
That's what I'm
What's the
saying.
difference?
It's for us. You asked about us, and I've told you it's a change. A change where we have, for a long time, been led differently. We have just changed our t-shirts and said we have come differently to the public. So it's no longer a Raila versus Ruto. No, it's Raila, Ruto, and others. That is the conversation that is going to be out there in the country. So when everybody is going to collect their basket of votes, they must contemplate that now this has gotten a little tougher.
So there are more than 2 horses.
There are more than 2 horses.
David Mugaka says, good morning, tuned in from Babadogo, Nairobi. One Alliance, hakuna penye inaelekea, farasi ni wawili.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We have planted in the minds of Kenyans that this is about Raila and Ruto. Raila is a project of Uhuru. Ruto is a divorcee of Uhuru. That sort of thing. That is the conversation that we have been having in this country.
Yeah.
And that is what One Kenya Alliance wants to change. Simple. And that is what One Kenya Alliance is going to do.
But what's the difference then?
What do you mean?
If
In
we
terms
look at it, and we've been talking about this, first there was CORD, which had ODM, Wiper, Ford Kenya, and others, smaller partners. Then you bring in Musalia, it becomes NASA. Now you remove Raila, it becomes OKA. Is it not just the same thing? What you're just doing is removing pieces from the chess table and calling it a different game.
Like what PNU was. PNU minus Kibaki became Jubilee. It's the same thing. Jubilee minus Uhuru is UDA. OKA minus Raila. NASA minus Raila is OKA. So it's a political formation. It's a coalition. And it's unfortunately, and since I like being honest, it's their conglomeration of regions. That's what the election, presidential election, is going to be, a conglomeration of regions, and a quest to get the 25% in 25 counties and 50 plus 1. That contentious vote is where we are headed, and that's why I'm saying nobody should rest easy and count their chickens, because they are not going to roost anymore. There's going to be a problem.
Which I like what you're saying. But in my ears, it sounds strangely like something I've heard before. I don't know of any political leader who doesn't talk about change or talks about something new that is going to come about as a result of this coalition that they are now in. The question I want to ask is, what are these other things that will guarantee that this coalition that you are in will actually make the difference that you are speaking about?
The NASA dream has never been achieved, and that is what we had even in OKA, Kenya. The idea of making devolution a stronger dream of this country. So I think that, and Jubilee, of course, has not succeeded. From laptops to stadiums to 10,000 kilometers of roads and all these sort of things. Now they have come up with yet another analogy. But I mean, Kenya is still where it was, possibly pre-2020, except that we have 47 governors and 47 senators and 47 women reps. But we are easily, possibly even worse than we were before. So you actually, by the way, I actually don't envy even our own candidate who's going to be president, because the conversations are going to be on the economy won't be just 1+1, because the country is suffering, the country is reeling under debt from Jubilee. The Kenyans, I mean, you saw the statistics yesterday about the number of suicides in Kenya. That tells you that we already have a problem, and you will not have the same conversations that we have been having. So I believe that One Kenya Alliance will bring up a different conversation than the one you have had before. That this man is a thief. If he's president, he's going to steal more. This man is a saint. If he gets there, the country is going to change. You know, the usual conversation. That is not helping you and I. It's not helping the country, has not helped the country, and the country is suffering. So I believe that is the alternative conversations that we are going to be talking about. If you talk about the Uchumi Bora, for example, the mantra of ANC, what is Uchumi Bora? How different is it from the conversations we have been having, or the conversations that have been propagated through Jubilee government?
So same messaging. So as you're coming then together,
it's how you implement it.
What is your different message? So you've told us, and you've actually just chided them and said one side is saying bottom up, the other one is saying bottoms up. They're saying the same thing. What is the OKA Kenya message?
The OKA Kenya message is that the economy of the country cannot be run the way it has been run before. Means that you can't borrow. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. So you can't continue doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So any person and from OKA Kenya, you cannot use the model that Jubilee has used, or pretend that you can use the model that is called the bottoms-up approach to succeed. You will not succeed.
You know, Mheshimiwa, I think, though, that anyone coming after this particular administration, in my opinion, has an advantage.
Of course.
A huge one. Because if you have an administration that has actually underserved its people, okay? Remember, when Kibaki took over from the Moi government,
Yes.
there's a lot that was said about the Moi government. There are very many positive things that we are reaping from that government that we don't talk about very loudly, but that's not really what I want to say. What I want to say is, things that had gone wrong, give the Kibaki an opportunity to set them right.
Absolutely.
And the Kibaki government did. Okay?
Very well.
Yes. And they set many things straight. This government seems to have got it wrong at every turn.
Everything. Everything is wrong.
A bit too harsh, but okay, go.
No, but it's true. Everything is wrong, and it's correct that the president, the person who is going to inherit or succeed, not inherit, succeed Uhuru Kenyatta is going to have an advantage because they will be like Kibaki. Just have to tweak.
We hope they're like Kibaki.
Yeah, like Kibaki, you just have to tweak a little the conversation.
Yes.
The president, what did President Kibaki do differently? He just encouraged you to pay taxes.
That's it.
He said,
And
go
then-
and pay your taxes. If you want money, go and borrow from the bank.
Yes.
It's simple.
Precisely. And the reason why we could borrow from the bank is because his government wasn't borrowing all the money from the bank like this one.
Like this one.
So there
This government
was
is-
money for you to actually borrow from the bank.
This government is borrowing from every place, nook and cranny, including commercial loans, which we have discouraged them from doing, to do, and in particularly to do recurrent expense. So, and you see the who was Kibaki's partners? You know, at some point there was criticism of Kibaki when he looked to the east in terms of the people he's going to deal with.
You know, he's the one who took us to China.
He's the one who took us to China.
Well, actually, Jaramogi had been there before.
Yeah.
But Jaramogi wasn't president.
Yeah.
As a president, he's the one who took us to China.
Yeah, he took us to China, but when he took us to China, then he didn't bring the money bags approach. The money bags is Jubilee. It's Jubilee entirely. In fact, the loan portfolio of loans that are above 9% is easily the most expensive loans we have had from the Chinese have come after Kibaki. So if it's, and it is argued, and you can check, that this beautiful road that is going to come up just next to your building was actually negotiated during the Kibaki regime.
As was the SGR.
And it was 23 billion at the time. Just like SGR. So Kibaki took us to China for good reason. But when this government took over, it doubled the price for everything. That's the difference.
You know,
I want to come back to that question because I still haven't gotten the answer. What is the OKA Kenya message? I mean, what different thing are you selling? This is the same people. We are talking about the same principles. Musalia Mudavadi has vied for president. Musalia Mudavadi has been in NASA. Kilonzo Musyoka has vied for president. Kilonzo Musyoka has been on the presidential ballot in the last 2 elections. Moses Wetangula has threatened to vie for president. Moses Wetangula has been...
Be kind to the gentleman.
No, he hasn't vied for president. He has promised, but Moses Wetangula has been in the leadership, the National Assembly and the Senate in this country. These are the same people we have seen. When you stand on one side and then you point fingers at Ruto, who's the deputy president now, or at Raila, who is the leader of the opposition, and handshake.
I have not pointed fingers at Raila.
no, you is not you.
You are saying.
As in the
when
third
you say
person,
there's a third.
somebody else,
right?
yes.
Oh, but he was pointing at me anyway.
If we say that now we have
See,
that,
now he's pointing at me.
now you're making me change my finger direction. When you stand there as Okoa Kenya,
Oka.
Oka is what? Oka Kenya.
We don't have the A.
One Kenya.
One Kenya Alliance.
Okay.
Pause.
One Kenya Alliance.
Yes.
What is the difference between you and the other two?
I'm just saying we're going to do things differently.
How?
Differently. Differently
What
means
things are these that you're going to do
that
differently?
differently means that if you are going to borrow, you don't borrow commercial loans that are expensive for us, that are short term. You don't borrow the sort of billions they've borrowed for China to be repaid in 9 years. Yet, the France government and other donors are giving us loans for almost 50 years at very low interest rates. I mean, that's an example. Now, we have never exhausted the what you call the headroom for borrowing for purposes of IMF and other World Bank entities. Why? Because the conditions that come with those loans, because there's no country that doesn't borrow. In fact, when the country talks about 100% borrowing, other countries are borrowing possibly even more. But when they borrow such loans that you have long repayment periods, so that then, for example, this road, you can have easily a return on investment for over 70 years. That's a difference. Now, how do you explain that we have nearly exhausted the borrowing framework, which we extended less than 2 years ago, from 6 billion to 9 trillion within 2 years? Where did this money go? What did you borrow to do with? Where did you start big projects that don't make a difference? So, live within your means. Kibaki did few things that have made a huge difference. A huge difference, like the Thika superhighway. Now, if really we were thinking of an economy between 400 billion of the standard gauge railway and dueling Mombasa Road all the way across the border, what would you have done if you were an economist? What would have spurred the economy better? Would it be cheaper? That is the sort of conversation you're going to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times track record is something that comes into play when we're looking at some of these things. Because right now, Mutula, it's just everybody saying this is what they intend to do or how they want the conversation to change. But in terms of tangibility of things that Kenyans are looking for to say, okay, we clearly need a change. Things have been going absolutely wrong. What is it that is going to convince Kenyans that, really we're going to see something different besides what is being said? Of all the people who are principals in this new alliance, of all the people who've been in government, of all the people who are contributing to this current conversation, what is it that then will really convince Kenyans that this is actually the direction in which we ought to go?
Let me continue with that conversation. Now, why do you think that we have entered into expensive contracts? We have done Galana Kulalu, which has backfired, 17 billion project on laptops, which has backfired, and many others. It's because we are not borrowing to help Kenyans, we are borrowing to steal. Aror and Krimarel. I mean, the story is weird about the withdrawals of the money. I mean, what sort of country where people withdraw 4 billion shillings? It's ridiculous. Where the person who paid the money is now a witness against a cabinet secretary. I mean, what sort of country lives like that? It's ridiculous. I've said it's ridiculous, I can repeat, that the accounting officer has now become the witness against a cabinet secretary who didn't pay. He's the one who paid the money, but he's the one who's going to testify against him, against the cabinet secretary. The country must change in terms of what are your priorities? What are the things that will spur the economy? What are the things that will help Kenyans have money in their pockets? What will make Kenyans move from Kakamega town to Nairobi quickly? That sort of thing. It's an economic concept. But let me just be honest that the next president is not going to have it easy, because you will not change what Jubilee has done within a day. It's not going to happen, because the Chinese loans are not going to go anywhere. The expensive loans are not just going to go anywhere, because they promised us when they were increasing the loans that they were increasing the loans so that they could repay and offload the expensive loans. They have not done it, and you can't do it. How? You go back to a person and say, by the way, I don't need your money anymore. Can I pay you back? And you go away.
So is the intent, because I could have a very good intent, is the intent enough? I have an intent to come and, change or reverse all this, poor work that has been done, Is that enough to convince Kenyans? Say, well, I have an intent to come and change things in the future, and that should be enough to convince you. It doesn't really go very far if we want to look at it.
Let me tell you that for the ordinary Kenyans, in the end, the presidential candidates are going to easily end up saying the same thing differently. Easily say the same thing differently. Whether they are going to use the bottom-up approach or bottom-up approach or change the economy, it's just the conversation and how you persuade Kenyans. In the end, it's not just the intention. It's that Kenyans are just going to look at the people at the front and see, do I think that my interests are catered for? Not necessarily the message. The message will be the same, but Eric Latif and his relatives are going to be looking at the people at the front.
Who's up there?
Who is up there? Does Mutula look like he represents my interests? Because the conversation is going to be the same. It's who do we think as Kenyans can deliver that message? The intention. How will you deliver that intention? Who amongst these people looks as if they are not going to enter into the same gravy train that we are trying to run away from? Who looks like the person who is not going to cut deals day and night again for their own interests and for their own pockets?
Who's a better
because I was
devil?
having a conversation with my vegetable friend. I was saying, Mutula, in Jubilee, everybody's a thief. The only problem is one thief keeps to themselves and the other thief gives to us. You know, that sort of conversation. Everybody's a thief. So that's what I'm saying. They're going to analyze us from the perspective, who do you think from the messaging can deliver Kenya to the next level, whatever level it is.
In the Situation Room this morning is Eric Latif, Nduoko, C.T. Muga, and Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. representing the One Kenya Alliance today. So, Senator, as you go into the next election, and you're saying political parties and politicians will be looking at, the voter will be looking at who among these candidates best understands my problem and is most likely to resolve the issues. So, from One Kenya Alliance, if you were to list the top three, what are the greatest challenges that Kenyans are facing today? That you'd go to them and say, we hear you, these are your challenges, and this is what we shall bring as a solution. What's the diagnosis?
Unemployment, the economy, first two, and you can repeat them again.
Unemployment and the economy. What about the economy?
The economy, the economy generally, the economy is dysfunctional. Our budget is 3 trillion going up, and the common man doesn't know why the budget is so high. Why is our budget at 3 trillion? And yet every Kenyan at every turn is suffering. Why are they paying taxes? It's not like any hospital has got medicine. It's not like that they can access facilities. Why are we paying fuel levy fund? Every time you fuel, you pay a fuel levy fund to ensure that you have road access, road network in the country. You don't have it. So where is this money going? So those conversations must be had, because the idea is a government that spends so much, and government is supposed to spend because the government is not a commercial entity. There's supposed to be an effect of such a huge budget. And consider that for the last maybe 4 years, we have never crossed the threshold of 1.6 trillion collections. What exactly is the problem? Now, is it that there are very few Kenyans paying taxes, or there are many Kenyans who are not paying taxes?
And those two are different.
So it's like NHIF, for example. NHIF has 7 million subscribers, collecting 42 billion shillings, the bulk of which is going to private hospitals. How is that possible?
How is that helping our healthcare?
No. How is that possible? Are the majority of Kenyans going to private hospitals? And who are these 7 million who are paying? So you must look at that. And why is it 7 million out of 42 are paying NHIF? And even at 42 billion, you still will not get healthcare. How many times do we have cases of people who are detained? And you must, Eric Latif, we must have this conversation. Why are we spending so much on healthcare? Possibly the highest budget in the country, up to 42 billion shillings. And people are still stuck at Kenyatta National Hospital as we speak, paying bills. Why? What is the problem? There are people who have abandoned their relatives at Kenyatta National Hospital to be buried by the state. There are people who have been detained for over 3 months. There was a case recently. Why?
But you see, Mheshimiwa,
so I'm talking about healthcare. I'm talking about the economy as many things.
we have to bring the discussion back to you as a senator. And
So that's I'm just pointing out the things that
yes,
we must look at.
and to Parliament, to our Parliament, because whenever we hear of the country needing more money, it isn't possible for the government to actually raise whatever debt ceiling that they want to raise without the say-so of the august house that you belong to.
True.
It's not possible. Let me ask this question, because I'm asking it out of ignorance. Just as you have the power to raise it, do you have the power to query and to determine how it is that this money is actually used? And how effectively does Parliament actually query this thing?
In the last increase, 7 of us, including myself and 6 other senators, refused the framework for the increase of public debt. And what were we saying? We're saying, whilst we cannot avoid borrowing, we need to ensure that we check what government is borrowing for. So if government has 1, 2, 3 priorities, we want to say this is necessary, this is not necessary. Because the government is signing grants left, right, and center, and our donors are too happy to commit us because we are too happy to sign into things. But who approves this debt? So what is Treasury doing? Treasury goes and says, increase the ceiling for me between 6 to 9, and let me be the judge of what I'm going to do in between. And Parliament approved, and I disagreed, and I still disagree. That if you're going to borrow to do, for example, the Kenol-Sagana Road, 84 billion, or you're going to borrow to do the Mau Summit extension, Nakuru-Mau Summit, I mean, are we of Kenyans satisfied that that's what you need to do? Do you need to do that road or another road?
Do we agree that that's a priority?
You agree on the priority. Isn't it much better to complete the Mombasa road first? Which one has got more traffic? Which one affects more Kenyans? That sort of thing. But you can't have that conversation because we as parliamentarians and I accept the responsibility, although I was in the minority, that we have not set those sort of benchmarks. Please give us this. I would have expected that first, I have said this consistently, that nobody has ever seen the public debt register. And we're supposed to have one. And we have a director of public debt. Public debt is not on IFMI, so they do what they feel like. Now, if they go and sign into a contract, the contracts are supposed to be made public. They're supposed to be tabled. The public doesn't mean that we go and distribute it on Oru Highway. It means that you table it in Parliament. If it's confidential, the confidentiality can be kept, but the document is tabled. Remember that even the documents concerning the payment of electricity, 18 companies have been given contracts to buy electricity from Kenyans and sell it to KPLC. Even that argument was that we can't give it to you because these agreements are confidential. Can you imagine? That's what I'm saying. That to some very extent.
What's the threshold for confidentiality? I just need to understand. You have a legal background. What, according to the government, can be considered confidential, and what do they consider to be something that can be available to the public?
According to government, everything is serikali. That's what serikali meant. The question, in fact, about SGR, and I've said this before, and I've asked this question, and the chairman of transport has made sure that statement disappears into the woodwork. Where is the agreement, 3 agreements on SGR? Because the Auditor General has fingered these 3 agreements to say we have offered collateral of Mombasa Port for SGR. That's 1. 2, we have put an arbitration clause that says in the case of disagreement, the seat of justice will be in Beijing in Chinese language. But when we tell them to table, they don't table. The medical leasing equipment, I mean, even to get that document was like extracting a tooth from the cabinet secretary, that sort of thing. So I'm saying as Parliament, we have failed in putting a framework where we check Treasury. Treasury is the 4th arm of government, officially. Now, let me just tell you. There's judiciary, there's Parliament, there's executive, and then there's Treasury.
I feel like we have a shopping list of problems. There's a whole list of problems, and I think that everybody is just wallowing in this pit of these issues. But then are looking
Strong words.
right, but looking for a way to get out. And we're still saying, well, there's a way. Everybody talks about Canaan and the road to there, whatever. So now, and I'm still here, Mutula, is that with a new political dispensation, are we saying that these problems that are currently dogging Kenyans will be solved in this dispensation? Because I'm saying this list that we are saying, 1, make debt public. 2, make sure healthcare
It's functional.
is functional. Make sure that
This meeting is being recorded. The recording has stopped.
Okay.
Okay,
John is doing things here. However, are we saying that this new political dispensation is going to solve these problems one by one? As in, here's your list, and start chalking them off. Because if that's not it, then it doesn't matter, Mutula.
In fact,
it won't make a difference to Kenyans.
Yeah, true.
So
I'm
what-
actually, as opposed to throwing the ball at me, I'm actually just listing for you the sort of conversations that the country should be having. And that's what I'm saying. Where I'm seated, that is what I am going to be demanding of my presidential candidate.
Right, but then Kenyans are saying right now, we're going into, if it's political silly season right now. And Kenyans want to know, this new person, whomever it will be, the OKA candidate coming forward, how are we sure that this shopping list that we are seeing now is actually going to be ticked off and these issues are going to be solved? How do we know?
I wish I could give you the sort of answer you want. Give you a painkiller and your headache disappears immediately.
No, I don't want a painkiller to solve the problem. Because pain is just a
I'm simply saying
Yeah.
that you will have to operate on trust. It will have to be, because if I tell you that I mean, if I persuade you, and that's what I said, that it's the formation, is who is at the front. It will just be trust, because all of us will be saying the same thing. Somebody is going to say, I'm going to reduce public debt. The other person is going to say, I'm going to build stadiums. The other person is going to say, I'm going to do healthcare. But it's the question of what team are you going to bring to the table for Kenyans to say, between Eric Latif, Ndu, and Mutula, I can trust that team to deliver X, Y, Z. I can trust Mutula to check Latif if Latif goes haywire. Not the sort of Jubilee thing. You make sure the deputy president has no job and the country continues. You don't solve the problem.
So what you're saying here is that you have a merry band of accountability brothers here
yes.
who are saying that whomever is at the front,
Yes.
what we are committing to do,
Yes.
we can say that very clearly, Mutula.
Yeah.
What we're committing to do here is make sure that whomever is at the front,
Yes.
keep them accountable.
Absolutely.
But
And ask questions and be prepared.
there's a but here. There's
A
but.
big one. Eh?
No, it's not really a big one. The but here is this. One of the beautiful things about a democracy and the existence of political parties within them is the position political parties take on issues. Okay. What is the track record? What is Wiper's track record in putting their foot down or in advocating, not you, Senator, not you as an individual, and one or two of your colleagues from the party.
I'm Wiper. Don't divorce
I know.
that from
I
me.
have to. You know, I have to. You are not the only Wiper candidate in the Senate.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I want to know the number of times those who represent Wiper have banded together on strong issues and said the Wiper position on this matter is this. We are not going to, and they've continued and they've persisted.
Like Wiper Parliamentary Group has met,
yes.
And on the issue of budget, the coming budget,
And
these
saying
are
no.
our irreducible minimums.
And or we are not going to whatever it is. If we are in this committee, if this is what you guys are going to sanction, then we are not
not part of
participating in
it.
this
We'll
thing.
not- we'll never sign.
What is Wiper's track record when it comes to such matters?
You're asking me. You're asking me for a progress report.
Yes,
of Wiper members.
You see,
I
your
can't.
Your track record, we know.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't rely on you to represent Wiper, and I know full well that Wiper has other members of parliament.
Why can't you trust that
No.
when the vice chair speaks,
Because
Wiper has
because
spoken?
it is not you who's gunning to be president.
In as much as you're supporting the individual who would.
No,
it's not
but
you.
I have a platform, and that platform is protected by law. When I'm on the
In fact,
floor
so
of the Senate,
let's add you into that list, all right? Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., as the vice chairman of Wiper Party,
Yes.
you're the senior most legislator from Wiper.
Yes, in the House.
In the House.
Yes.
Both houses.
yes,
Now, as the senior most leader,
vice chairman
in the National Assembly and Senate, can you show us positions that Wiper Parliamentary Group has taken and said, on this particular matter, our members in these committees, like City is asking, this is our stand. On this particular matter, on the issue, for example, of debt register that you're saying should be made public, on the issue of accountability and transparency in the details of contracts that have been signed that should be made public, this has been our position. And that position has been so well articulated in the House that even our members, even the speakers know.
Same page.
When this issue has come up, we have voted consistently no.
In Wiper, let me explain how we work. We have parliamentary caucuses. We have the Senate Parliamentary Caucus and we have the National Assembly Parliamentary Caucus. In the case of the Senate Parliamentary Caucus, I'm the senior most. And we have consistently spoken about these issues. You might not get the same critical mass in the National Assembly for the reason that, of course, there are so many. If one speaks out of 27, it's not like 2 out of 5. It's not the same. So you don't get the same traction. But the position taken by us and taken by me as vice chair is a representation of Wiper. It must be understood that the position we have taken is a position of the party. Of course, not necessarily everybody agrees with me, even in my political party.
I'm one of those people who don't agree with you. But
you don't agree with me that my position is Wiper?
No. You're a member of Wiper. You are an individual who has been known to take certain positions. Yes. And you've been vocal about it. All right? How many times have you taken that position and said, we as the Wiper party have taken this position?
This is a position of
the Wiper party. How many
times? There are 3
times?
senators from Mukambani who are Wiper.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Now, can we say that those 3 senators always vote the same way?
Yes.
And they've come out to say that this is a position not of me
we voted
as a Kitui senator, but
we voted the same on debt. We were the 3 of us. We voted the same on the revenue sharing formula. We voted the same on the what we call the budget policy statement when it comes. Our statements are synchronized. That's what I'm saying. For purposes of the Senate, we have a Senate caucus. For purposes of National Assembly, they have a National Assembly caucus. Now, I might get 10 minutes on the floor of the Senate every day to speak on every topic, 10 minutes. In the National Assembly, you'll be lucky if you get 3 minutes to speak out of the 27. So if one person speaks or 2 people put their voice onto a subject in the National Assembly is good enough because they don't get that opportunity like I do. So the reason you get to see me more is because on the floor of the Senate, I have 10 minutes.
So unequivocally, when you get up to speak, then what we are supposed to understand, and not just on the floor of the House, wherever you have a platform that you're speaking, it can be assumed then, what you're saying, it can be assumed that that is the position and one that Kenyans should trust. Now, if that is what you're laying down as a foundation, would you then agree to then let's move a step into the future and say, all right, what you are seeking now has been realized. Can Kenyans hold you accountable? Would you say, let's put down these accountability contracts and say, you know what, if we fail to do this for Kenyans 1, 2, 3, then get rid of us?
Absolutely. And I've been very, very categorical, both as an individual and even to the principals. I've said these are irreducible minimums. You must, when you go to the public, you must take these irreducible minimums, commit yourself into something, and say, judge us by X, Y, Z. Don't not large manifestos, 100 pages of too much English. 1, 2, 3, reduce debt, reduce this, do this, commit yourself, performance contracting, and let the Kenyans judge you on those issues. Yeah, I'm by the way, I am very clear about it. Yeah, and I will be, even if they're in government, I will be telling them this is what you committed to do. You haven't done X, Y, Z.
You see, where it is that I am coming from and where I'm going to is this. If indeed, as you say, you've been clear on some of these issues.
Yes.
The reason why I speak thus is because I wasn't clear that you people were that clear. Why? Because you haven't stated it. Now, if you want to gun for the presidency or for a high seat at the table, and the common mwananchi, I am in the media, and I'm far better informed because my work requires me to be informed.
Yes.
Don't you see that any effort that you may be making or what you have been doing will not serve your purposes, the purposes that you intend to be served by your positioning as One Kenya Alliance. Because if people don't know what you stand for, and they cannot say, this is what you've stood for, so when you're telling us this is what you're going to do, we agree with you because we've seen you do this.
In fact, it's only that I can speak confidently, but ideally, the principals have not come out to speak on these issues because they have not formalized what they're supposed to do. They will come to speak. But I'm simply giving you snippets of conversations we have had with them as a technical team for deliverables. They will come and say this themselves, but you have given them pillars and say this is a pillar. This is a pillar that is going to change the country. Don't go and criticize the bottoms-up approach or a wheelbarrow without offering an alternative conversation, because that's what remains in the minds of Kenyans. I mean, if you are saying this, you cannot. You're going to. The youth are going to have innovation, like what Senator Sakaja and I were discussing in the Senate yesterday about startups bill. With various companies offering platforms for young people to do innovation and supporting them to do innovation, and as a way of supporting the youth. You cannot support youth to do innovation and then give them a wheelbarrow. That's the conversation we want to listen to. because a wheelbarrow is not an innovation.
But Mheshimiwa, you know what is strange? That wheelbarrow narrative has caught on.
No, I have. By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. They are just exactly what they are: wolves in wolfskin. They are not pretending they are different.
They're not pretending to be sheep, is what you're saying. No,
they're just a wolf in wolfskin, and I will tell you as it is.
And if people trust a wolf, that tells you about the sheep.
Yes. Let me tell you. I mean, you were here, and I was here when Jubilee was running around in red and very nice looking and persuaded us about doing stadiums. Weren't you persuaded? Like the majority of Kenyans.
I wasn't.
These chaps, in terms of conversation, let me say this, and I must confess, they are very articulate. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
Now, how are you going to counter that persuasion?
Yes, that's
because that conversation you're saying, that wheelbarrow conversation, for example, has caught on so well that the other side has taken it up. So who's bottom and who's bottoms?
Who's bottoms up?
Yeah.
It's so simple. I said you must change the narratives, and you can't change the narrative by criticizing the wheelbarrow. And you can't change the narrative by turning a bottle upside down and saying, okay, what is this? This is bottoms up. Because, a lot of people misunderstood those statements. And now, from what I've read and I've seen in social media, they have drawn all sorts of things, cartoons of donkeys and other things. It's a terrible conversation. So I have my presentation to them, to the OKA principle, is that please have a conversation that Kenyans understand. Make it simple, break it down. It could be that, the simplicity of a wheelbarrow. It's not that the wheelbarrow has carried the day. It's a simplicity of a wheelbarrow that every Kenyan can relate to a wheelbarrow.
And every Kenyan can relate to the narrative of a hustler.
Because in real sense, and we had this conversation in the Senate yesterday. By the way, a hustle for our young people is, I'm going to...
It's what they do.
It's what they do, you understand?
Yes.
So the conversations these people are having is a conversation the young people are sitting somewhere discussing. We're going for, it's a hustle.
Yes.
I'm going to Tao
to
cut a deal. That's a hustle. So what they did is to change it to that hustle, that's a hustler. If you go to some places in this country, I was having this conversation, that a hustler is actually a guy. If a person steals, is a hero. If somebody managed to pickpocket 10 people in a matatu today,
he's a champion.
That guy is a champion. This guy is a hustler.
That's a serious
people identify with people who can make money.
Yes, they do.
As somebody who can walk into town, cut a deal, come back, buy a big car, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, this guy is a real hustler. That's what I'm talking about. That they're having very simplistic conversations with Kenyans, and Kenyans identify with a wheelbarrow and the hustle of calling somebody, hey, by the way, BFF, can you connect me to that deal? It's called a hustle.
That's a hustle.
Hey.
So you need to come up with a conversation.
Or a conversation about Nduthi.
To counter that conversation.
Actually, it's an empowerment narrative.
That's real.
And One Kenya Alliance had better think hard
Yes.
of employing people who know how to package these things.
That's what I'm saying.
So that you can have an equally empowering narrative. Because this particular narrative, believe me, is powerful.
Wildfire already.
And it resonates with young people.
If it does, like the same gentleman from Bangladesh who got an award about the pyramid.
Yep.
The pyramid thing.
And it resonated. Senator,
Yeah.
time up.
Time up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Mutula
Thank you
Kilonzo
for
Jr.,
inviting me.
Makueni Senator, Vice Chairman of WIPA, Democratic Movement,
Movement, not
Kenya,
party.
Movement.
political party that is now receiving some 70 million out of 100 and some
80.
87 million that it should have received. But one of the core principles or key principles of the One Kenya Alliance. Asante sana.
One of
the key
principles.
principles.
Yes.
Principles. No, I'm not a principal.
Not you.
Oh,
the party.
I'm just vice chair of
the
WIPA.
movement.
Yeah.
Right? Your movement is part of the critical pillars
Yes.
of the One Kenya Alliance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come again soon. Right? Let's continue with this
It's called the
conversation.
center bolt.
Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.